Hey y'all, we're Alec and Cindy, and we're sharing the journey. For any of y'all that have not watched our channel before, Cindy and I live full-time in our 2019 Tiffin Open Road, and we work camp our way across the country. So I've had a few emails, or we've had a few emails over the past week and a half or so asking about full-time RV life, why we chose to go full-timing, and I guess the big part is the pros and the cons of the lifestyle. And then we came up with like a third, pros, cons, and then the inconvenient part of the lifestyle. Would you say that was a way to put it?
I guess.
So, first of all, we did not make the decision to go full-timing lightly. It is something that we batted around for years, and we had to finally find the right time to be able to do it. So I would never encourage anybody to just willy-nilly decide to sell everything, buy a RV of some sort, ours is a Class A motorhome, and hit the road. You need to make sure that your finances are in order and that you can actually afford to do the lifestyle. Because when we started, I made an imaginary budget that we could live off of my small retirement, and then we got on the road and found out, holy crap, this is more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And so luckily we found work camping, and luckily we love it. Would you say we love it?
Oh yeah.
We love work camping. So we're going to get into the pros and the cons, but before you even think about that, you need to look and see if you actually can sustain yourself on the road. Because there's nothing worse than getting on the road and then figuring out you can't afford to do anything.
Right. Yeah, because the whole point is to travel and see things and see places that you've never seen.
Right.
And just like it's no fun to be at home, living in a house or sticks and bricks like people call it, and not having any fun money, just having enough money to live paycheck to paycheck for your needs.
Or barely squeaking by, or not knowing how you're going to get by.
Right.
So the pros, I think, are far more for us, far more than the cons, right?
100%.
So Cindy, what would you say the biggest pro to full-time RV life is?
It's traveling and getting to see places you want to see, and having the flexibility to go wherever you want to go.
So like for us, we had 6 children. We had a couple of elderly people that are in our family that we either took care of or assisted in their care. And so we had a lot of obligations at home. So we never traveled. I mean, we camped in state for like a weekend, like your regular weekend warrior.
Well, the states adjoining where we were.
Right, we tried to keep it within 4 hours of the house.
Right.
And so we've never had a chance to travel really outside of South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia.
Or the means.
Or the means. We had, in the end, we had 9 dependents, Cindy's mother, our 6 children, and Cindy and I. And we were trying to do it on a policeman's salary with some side jobs. And Cindy would work the fair every year. She did really good at the fair. It was a big help, especially for Christmas and holidays and stuff.
And it was fun.
And it was fun. But I think it was more fun because she wasn't near the 6 kids. But so we get to travel now wherever we want, right?
Yep.
And we've seen things that I never thought we would see. Mount Rushmore, Yellowstone, the Tetons,
Custer
Glacier, and we even got to see
Needles Highway.
Needles Highway. What was that big thing in Missouri? The Arch? No, what was it?
The Arch.
The Arch, and they had a miniature Statue of Liberty downtown. And we've been to Canyonlands,
Arches National Park.
And what's the one we went to on the way up here that we got stuck in? Petrified Forest. Zion was a big letdown for me. So these are things that we would have never done. Here's another thing we would have never seen. There's an elk. I think that's an elk on the side of the road. You couldn't see it because the camera's facing behind us. But, you know, we're just riding down the road in Montana and there's an elk. So, number one is the ability to travel. Number two, where you want to go and when you want to go.
Yes.
Number two for me is all the new people, amazing people that we have met on the road and that we've stayed friends with.
And we continue to meet with them on the road.
Right. And so at home, you have your tight little group of friends, which if you are tight at home, you will still be tight on the road. If all you gotta do is work out a little bit, call them, talk to people, there's Facebook and all that. But if you've been watching our videos or go back and watch them, we have met, I can't even count the number of really cool people.
A lot of people.
Like we got a call yesterday from, or day before yesterday, from Larry and Martha. We met them in South Carolina when we were working. We just missed meeting them in Texas when we first started work camping because they had left the job we went into and then the next job they were there at. And then we worked with them in Minnesota and now we talk all the time. So we would have never met them. And Bob and Debbie, which they've invited us to come up after we leave Montana to their house in Virginia. We're going to spend a week or 10 days mooch docking. For any of those that don't know what mooch docking is, camping in their yard for a week or 10 days. They've got hookups there. And just, I'm not going to mention everybody, but lots of people. We just, if you watch the video from the other day, we just had a cookout with people that we've met in different parts of the country that we all seem to be in the same location this season. So it's pretty cool. So there's two big pros. Can you think of any other?
Well, just not being stuck in any particular spot. Let's say we got here, or we got to a place where we just thought, oh man, this is going to be beautiful. We're going to love it here. Well, we may get there and we may not, like the town, may not like the people.
Right. There's a big possibility of that.
Just saying. You're not stuck. You can find another job somewhere else. You can pack your stuff up and move.
Yes.
You're not bound to be in any one spot for a long period of time unless you want to.
And I can expand on that a little bit. I've got a lot of friends that retired from the police department. And when they retire, they sit down in their lazy boy chair and basically whittle away the time watching TV and doing nothing. Or they pick up the hobby of fishing. Well, there's only 2 or 3 lakes in, let's say, we're from Columbia, South Carolina. Lake Murray, Lake Wateree, Santee Cooper. You know, there's those lakes right there, and they're doing the same thing day in and day out. Well, we're in Montana for 5 months, and then we're moving on. Before we were here, we were in Rockport, Texas. totally different vibe, different scenery, and so you don't get stuck unless you choose to get stuck in a place. And so to me, I think that is a big pro. Now, cons is and I'm sure there's more pros, but we're just hitting the highlights. But for cons, there were really only 2 that we came up with.
Well, let's just go through them.
Okay, so what's the biggest con for you, Cindy?
Well, not necessarily for me personally, but we have noticed that some of the friends that we've met on the road have, like diabetes or
heart disease. He has to shoot back to Pennsylvania to get medicine.
They have their monthly medications, prescription drugs that they are on. Well, anybody who, high blood pressure, anything like that, you have to go in and periodically have your levels checked so that you can get your new prescription.
Right.
And when you're living on the road, you can't just pop down to your doctor and get your prescriptions filled.
And we found
you can go to a clinic and have your blood drawn and your levels checked and it's sent to your doctor. But in most states, we learned
that's what I was about to say,
that you have to physically go in and see your doctor at least once a year for them to be able to consistently, the way the healthcare works, for them to be able to prescribe your medications.
Right.
They can have them sent to wherever you are.
Well, what our one buddy does is he just uses Walgreens. The doctor calls it in to their local Walgreens in
wherever,
Ketchikan, Alaska, and then he calls Walgreens and say, "Hey, I'm traveling. Can you have my prescription filled at this Walgreens in Oregon?"
Right.
But
then they also have to be careful about when the medication's running out, whether they're going to be traveling, because certain prescriptions can only be filled every 30 days or whatever. So that proposes a challenge.
And also, in a lot of states, is like if you have the Affordable Care Act. I talked to somebody that's down in Florida. It's only good in Florida because they bought it through the state marketplace or whatever, and so they have to go back to Florida to do their doctors. Now, luckily, Cindy and I have a few minor problems. Some of them physical, some of them mental, I think. But like Cindy has problems with her hip. We're going to go back to South Carolina and get her hip done just because it's easier because we have a support system there.
Right.
But other than that, we don't have neither one of us are on medication.
No, neither one of us are. But I mean, that's one of the cons of being on the road that we've noticed with friends.
Right.
And like our friend who was having issues with her wrist last year.
Yeah.
She ended up having to find an orthopedic surgeon here and getting surgery done and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you have a regular physician back home that you see, you typically want to go with them.
Yeah. And I would say, kind of going with that, another con that if you're not a real self-supportive person, meaning you are always requiring help for both your mental and physical well-being, that you are far away from where you could be, where you travel, from your support system. And by support system, I mean like family members that you rely on, like Uncle Bob, who comes over and fixes A, B, and C, or that sort of stuff. So you're away from your
just family.
So what would you say? Are there any other cons you can think of? I would say that another con is that when I was back home, and if I needed to, we were having a bad month financially, I was in an area where I knew where I could go either cut some yards, or I could build a portable chicken coop for somebody in town or something. And there was easier way to find side hustle money, which on the road there's not. But I'm gonna disagree with that. Well, I said easy. I'm not saying you can't make side hustle money, but I mean, like when we were in Minnesota and we were needing a little extra cash, I did eBay for 6 months, selling stuff that we didn't need, or stuff that we found, or we bought at a thrift store and I sold it while we were there. That was a side hustle we were able to do on the road. But I think financially the most important thing to do before you hit the road is to have a plan for your finances. Either we have a big enough savings or retirement income stream to where we don't have to worry about it, or for us, we work 3 to 6 months in any given place, and then we move on. Then I guess the last thing we talked about as far as cons was, my biggest fear when we hit the road was, I'm all about community, having a sense of community. I'd go down to the local place a couple times a week and meet with the old men and have coffee and grits.
Really? You're calling them the old men?
Well,
you were one of the old men.
But then they were, I was younger then. I was younger. But the way we do full timing is, we stay 3 to 6 months. So we have figured out how to act like we are living locally while we live local.
Yeah.
So
you find the local hangouts, the local places, so that you can meet people.
Like for lunch, we're headed to Bozeman to pick up Cindy's new glasses today. And for lunch, we decided to stop at Wild West Pizza in downtown West Yellowstone. And the lady goes, she started talking, she goes, oh yeah, y'all were in here such and such and such and such. Well, this is our second summer here. She goes, yeah, I know y'all, and so it is, we've got our places we go, like not Cheers where everybody's, oh, Norm, but something like that.
Yeah. And the other thing we talked about was if you were to have a family emergency.
Yeah.
Yes, it is hard to be away from your family when there's something going on back home and you're on
the road. Well, yeah. I'll give you an example. We've got a lady that we're working with right now that we talked to this morning. She just found out that her son was in the hospital. Now, her son is an adult.
Yes.
She's
is he married?
I don't remember.
I'm not sure. But anyway.
But he's old enough to take care of himself.
Yes, and he has support at home.
Right.
But he's in the hospital. Well, as a mother, you worry about your children. You want to be there for them.
And they're new full-timers. This is like They've been on the road for 2 weeks, and this is their first
Yeah.
work camping job.
So they're feeling guilty for not being there and for not, should we have done this, blah, blah, blah. Well, hopefully those family emergencies don't
Happen very often.
don't happen very often. We do know another set of our friends that they had to fly back home for a funeral.
Yes.
These things happen. This is life. You're going to have these things pop up from time to time, and you just deal with them the best you can. But I look at that, yes, we're living on the road, but it's no different if you had family. Well, let's just use me for example. I'm traveling around. I've got family in South Carolina. I've got a sister in Texas.
Got a son in Louisiana.
Right. And let's say if we had, me and my brother had a family emergency in South Carolina. Well, my sister lives in Texas. She would have to make a decision as to whether she wanted to get on a plane, head home, or what she wanted to do. It's no different if you have family that lives in a bunch of different states, in my opinion.
Yeah, and just like, last year we had a family emergency. We were in Texas.
Right.
And so we, did what we would have to do if we had a sticks and bricks. Let's say we were still in our hometown and our son in Louisiana had an emergency. We'd have to find somebody to watch the animals. We'd have to find somebody to watch the house. And then we would have to make our way to wherever the emergency is. So it's no different if you live on the road. You're just in a different place. Yes, you may not know as many people or resources, but we made the arrangements. We got home to our family emergency.
Right.
We took care of business, and then we came back and continued on. So it is different, but it's not really any different, if that makes sense.
Right.
So anyway, that's the gist of it for us.
I think there's more pros to it than there are cons. But that's just you and I in our situation.
Right.
I mean, if we had other extenuating circumstances, then maybe we would feel different.
Right.
But that's just our take on it.
Yeah, for us, we are 80% financially secure. We are healthy enough that we don't have to worry about the doctor thing right now.
Right.
Like, we don't have ongoing medical issues.
Or have monthly medications that we have to take.
Right. We have a supportive family back home. And if we want to talk to the kids, we call the kids or we FaceTime them. We have 6 of them. And they're supportive. And we are having the time of our life. If I had retired and stayed home,
We'd probably be having health issues.
We'd probably be having health issues, or I would be on Mondays, I'd be cutting the yard. On Tuesday,
Right.
I would be in a set routine, where now tomorrow we're going to Bear World.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
I mean, we could have never done that back home. We had Riverbank Zoo, and that's it. I mean, we would be doing the zoo. Last year we went to the Bear and Wolf place. We've been to the National Bison Range. Who's been to the National Bison Range? I have. We wouldn't have done that if we were back home. And we're traveling more affordable than okay, we're going to take 2 weeks vacation. Let's go to Montana. Well, you've got air flights. You've got, in downtown West Yellowstone, a hotel room is $430 a night.
That's crazy.
My
And I don't
motorhome
know-
payment's less than my mortgage was.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it depreciates where a house appreciates.
Hopefully our house appreciates. Our house did not.
But I don't know. I like the lifestyle. I like the freedom.
Just before you do it, prepare yourself and
Well,
know that
and
it's...
that is one thing that we did. We would go off for a week at a time
Yes.
and see how we liked it. And then, you know, just slowly increase it. Don't make any drastic changes in your life, but then go for 2-week vacation.
It got to be where Cindy would...
I didn't want to come back.
We got to go home.
I was like, oh.
We got to go cut the grass, or I mean, just...
I want to
it's a
go
thing.
somewhere new. I don't want to go back.
So that's just our 2 cents worth. I hope it helps you make your decision. And if you have any questions, our email's listed.
Or just to understand, try to have a new perspective and understand why people do this lifestyle.
Yes. So you can email us. We'll try to answer questions if you have any. Hopefully this has answered all your questions. Do we love it? We love it. It's the best decision I think we've made. But our decision is not right for you. You've got to decide if it's right for you. So until next time, we'll see you down the road.